Hello, I am going to be talking about the current election campaign. Some of you will know that I am occasionally in conversation with a chap called Yura Dashevsky. He's in part of New York, and he's running for the, oh God, dog hairs everywhere. Oh, all over the keyboard. Sorry about that. You might hear the dog occasionally. Let's get back to Yura Dashevsky. He is running for Congress, I think. Yeah, if you're listening to me and you're in his area, vote for him. He's a nice chap and he's got lots of experience. I don't know what sort of a politician he'd make. I don't know him personally. But he certainly lived a life. And a life not in politics. And I think that's probably fairly important because a lot of professional politicians are, well, rubbish, frankly, and it happens here as well. You get somebody like Rishi Sunak, for instance. He went to business school in Stanford. He's done all these sort of political philosophy type of things. Has he had any real experience in life? Probably not. And this has nothing to do with his wealth. There are plenty of very wealthy people who do know a lot about life. All right, well, but I was going to be talking about the election, what's going on in the elections. And quite frankly, I find it just gobsmacking, the sort of language that's being slung around, especially from the Democrats. So, and some arguments I just can't understand at all. And I did want to make a video offering people a little help and or hope. And frankly, I'm not sure I can. I'll go through what I'm seeing, though, and you can see what I'm seeing. And because I'm at such a distance from America, perhaps this might help give you some perspective. I don't know. I can just say what I say. Right, but first I'm going to say that, oh gosh, am I getting good at this? Right, I'm Granniopteryx. I am on YouTube, Rumble, BitChute and Minds. Yeah, of course. I am also on Twitter, Gab and Parler as @Granniopteryx. If you're watching this on YouTube, you might discover that your subscription has been dropped for a reason you cannot tell, and that you're not getting notifications of my videos. So if you subscribe to one of the social media platforms, you will always get notifications direct from the horse's mouth, so to speak. You can help my channel by liking, sharing and subscribing, and you can help me financially. Buy me a coffee, one of the links below. All right, that's the business out of the way. Now, I'd say for me, the election campaign started, I mean, I know it's been going on a long time, but I haven't been paying all that much attention. It doesn't really impact us here in that way, especially midterms. British people are generally interested in the president because they think the president is the be-all and end-all. And indeed, there are many in various political parties in America who think that the president should be the be-all and end-all. But in fact, it's Congress and the Senate which are the real problems if you're the president. For instance, Trump couldn't get half of his program through because the houses were dominated by the Democrats, and they kept bringing up all sorts of side issues and impeachment ideas and that sort of thing, which took up a lot of Trump's time. In my opinion, that was a big mistake. He was making a big mistake. The first mistake he made was letting the media get at Alex Jones. Not that I think Alex Jones is such a marvellous person, but the fact that they managed to cancel him is was a symptom of what was, it was a harbinger of the worst that was to come against Trump. And now, by the way, they have zapped him with like, what, $40 billion or something. That's not, I think that probably qualifies as cruel and unusual punishment. But they wanted to castrate him. They wanted to make it so that he can't talk anymore. And since they couldn't actually catch him for breaking the law, they used lawfare instead. Right, so yeah, but I've gone right off the subject here. But yes, the big strategic mistake that Trump made was not thinking that the media, and especially the stuff like Facebook, were a threat to him. And that's what did for his second term, for sure. And we could all see that very clearly in the suppression of the Hunter Biden story. Because that would have, had it been given the proper attention, it would have wrecked Biden's chances, for sure, for sure. But it was suppressed. And by the time a lot of people just read the papers and their opinions are formed by that, or they go for the stuff like CNN and MSNBC and they leave it at that. So, and I'm not criticising people. A lot of people have lives to live. I couldn't have done what I do with all the research I do, all the reading around the internet. I couldn't have done that a few years ago when I had children at home and other family things to worry about. So it's not a criticism when people just take what they're given in that way. They have lives to live. All right, so as far as I'm concerned, as far as Britain is concerned, the real midterm elections started out with the Biden Nuremberg rally speech he made, you know, that thing with all the red lighting and his constant repetition of the expression MAGA Republicans. And after that, I've seen another clip where Hillary Clinton is talking about the end of the world if the Democrats get control of the houses, which at least one, it looks like, and it could be two, it could be both. And then really made me think about making a video about this was a commentator and CNN, MSNBC, he was being interviewed, and he was, you know, as far as he was concerned, if the Democrats don't get control of politics, then it's the end of American democracy. The world's going to end. The Republicans are going to chain women back in the kitchen, and I think he used the word fascist. That word is thrown around far too lightly, in my opinion. But it seemed to me more like a democratic projection of their own feelings than what the Republicans actually do. I do object to the political emphasis on abortion as a great big political thing. It shouldn't be. Again, it shouldn't be a state thing. It should be a state thing. It shouldn't be a federal thing. And there are problems with that. I do acknowledge that. Okay, but yeah, the Democrats have this almost Thunbergian apocalypse. Is there such a word? All right, well, then I read a YouGov report, and it said the American public is generally very pessimistic about the future of the United States. Now, they weren't pessimistic when Trump was there cheerleading, but the Democrats, their whole attitude is doom and gloom and despair and angst, and everybody in that area, that's their that's the bicycle that they're riding. So this survey from The Economist and YouGov, they say that everybody is concerned about America, and there's a total economic collapse coming. And what, about well over 40% of the American public believe that. Now, I'm just going to read something from the World Socialist website, which I thought was quite even-handed, actually. The choice in the 2022 US midterm elections fascist Republicans, again that word fascist, versus war-crazed Democrats. The elections are taking place under conditions of extraordinary crisis, and yet that's absolutely true, including the escalation of the US-NATO war against Russia, which Biden has said could lead to Armageddon, extreme instability in the economic system, including surging inflation and growing signs of a global recession. The ongoing COVID-19 pandemic, which is killing more than 400 Americans every day. Is it? I mean, there will be Americans dying every day, and some of them might have COVID as a comorbidity. But I'm quite sure diabetes is killing far more Americans than COVID right now. So, yeah, I'm not too sure, but I don't have the figures, so I'll have to let that one go. Under these conditions, the elections offer a supposed choice between one party, the Democrats, whose central preoccupation is the expansion of war, and another, the Republicans, that is led by an outright fascist. Well, I don't know that the Republicans are led by. Are they led by anyone right now? I don't understand that. There's no leader of the Republicans that I know of. Trump hasn't, as of the making of this video, Trump hasn't even thrown his hat into the ring. And again, we have fascists now. I don't know what he means by fascist. And I saw a video in which somebody asked a student who was shouting fascist, what does fascist mean? And the guy obviously didn't know what it meant. It just means somebody I don't like, or more likely somebody I've been told not to like. But I suspect, now, as many of you know, I think probably the pushback against Russia in Ukraine is necessary. I know it's a dangerous strategy, but I think it's probably dangerous not to as well, because what happens is you give way on Ukraine, then they go for Estonia and Latvia, which have, again, borders against Russia and access to the sea, so Russia will look with green eyes on that. And then there's Moldova and Transnistria, and bit by bit, and then you see Russia will have control of the world's food supply. So they will make, you can't tell me they're not going to use that to push people around. So it will end in war anyway, because, you know, when you get this sort of a snowball going downhill, it just gets bigger. It doesn't stop just because it's got to a certain size. So nobody can predict the future, but in my opinion, the pushback against Russia is necessary. Let's go back to the Second World War. You know, if there'd been pushback against Germany's invasion of Czechoslovakia, then millions of people would probably not have died in the subsequent conflagration that destroyed huge swathes of Europe. Okay, so in that way, I am on the side of whoever thinks that that Russia needs stopping. So when they say war-crazed Democrats, I don't think they are war-crazed, although I will also point out that one of the reasons Biden is so keen on supporting Ukraine might be because the Ukrainian government knows where the bodies are buried. After all, Biden is, well, not just knee-deep, not even waist-deep, but probably chin-deep in all sorts of corruption in Ukraine at a time before the new government took over and started cleaning things up. So the present Ukrainian government could probably say that they're pretty, reasonably clear, although if you find me an East European country that isn't corrupt, it's reasonably clear. But Biden is just filthy up to here. And it wouldn't surprise me if Biden's enthusiasm for Ukraine has less to do with the justice of the situation and more to do with the fact that they have all sorts of documents. That does not mean you can go to a just war for the wrong reasons. So I'm not saying that's a reason why they shouldn't have thrown in their support. All right, well, yeah, so that was the World Socialist website, and to a certain extent from there, I mean, at least they are logically consistent. But I'm just appalled at the sort of debate that's going on in America. It's just shocking, especially from the Democrats, of course. So, yeah, and I've been sitting here thinking, what can I say that might offer some hope about this? And I'm specifically talking to Americans, but let's face it, we here in Europe, we need America to be stable too, so it is of concern. All I can see are the dark times that we have at the present. But I can also say you lose when you give up. One of the reasons that Russia is having a hard time in Ukraine is because the Ukrainians cannot afford to give up, whereas the Russians can. And that's a huge difference. And so in politics, when you have no option but to fight, you will not lose. When you have an option to retreat, then you'll usually take that option, and then you lose. Okay, well, yep, till next time. Why not treat yourself or a favoured relative or friend to these magnificent examples of merch? The mugs and t-shirts come in the Granniopteryx design or Granbo with a firearm or the more deadly knitting needles. Go to www.granniopteryx.com and whatever platform you're watching this on, please click like, subscribe and share.